This is how I spent an absolutely wonderful day in Skagway, Alaska. Half of it was spent at a musher and sled dog camp in Dyea, and the other half was spent running around the area on an e-bike.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's ours or whether that's the trip.
We arrived in town via a Disney cruise ship, the Disney Magic. Almost all the excursions partnered with Disney or Alaska Shore Excursions meet you on the dock right at the end of the pier. So we just stepped off the boat and looked for someone belonging to the company on our ticket. I wish we'd had even more time in Skagway. If we had, we'd have taken the White Pass Railroad and gone to the Yukon Suspension Bridge, or done a food crawl, eating crab legs and reindeer dogs and drinking beer or cider. Note to cruise execs, let us have more time in fun towns. So we started our day with some coveted churro Mickey waffles and caught the bus taking us to the mushers camp in Dyea, where they showed us that the dogs wanted to run and that they cared about the dogs' welfare and well-being. First, they took us up the mountain in Unimogs, ultra-terrain trucks, and then put us in wheeled tourist sleds pulled by the sled dogs. Not huskies or malamutes, near mutts bred for healthy athleticism and temperament, and not aesthetics. Then we had an opportunity to meet two retired sled dogs and cuddle with a few puppies.
Oh yeah.
He's just super. Oh, smack in the face.
I can.
Of course, afterwards, they ushered us into the gift shop before busing us back to Skagway. We didn't know beforehand where we should find food and found a few places closed, so eventually decided to find fish and chips at Woody's Seafood. It was tasty but expensive, and cider and a reindeer fart shot at the Red Onion Saloon. The food was good, but the kind of overpriced that you can expect from any tourist town. I rented an e-bike from Klondike Electric Bicycles. They asked me about my height and not my weight, so I was a little surprised when they gave me a Hemiway D5 instead of their cheaper and lighter Rad Runner step-through bikes. Regardless, I knew that my trip distance would stay within any of the advertised minimum range estimates, especially with the Hemiway, and that I'd be pedaling the entire time besides, so I knew I could afford some speedy fun. Once I familiarized myself with the pedal assist, I kept the pedal assist level high and rode as fast as I felt comfortable and safe. Which was good because the particular bike they lent to me kept increasing the pedal assist level due to a damaged handlebar button. The first place I stopped after abandoning my wife and child was the ship signature wall and landslide dock near the small ship harbor, showing passenger ship companies in port since 1928. Then I headed straight to the Lower Reed Falls, a beautiful waterfall on the northeast edge of Skagway. I didn't want to deal with border control, either United States or Canada, so even though I'd have loved to see the Pitchfork Falls, I only traveled up the Klondike Highway long enough to see the Denver Glacier Trailhead through the valley facing east. Then I returned towards Skagway, heading south-southwest. I took Dyea Road to the Skagway Lookout and watched a few planes land and take off. Then I took Dyea Road, stopping a few times along the way to appreciate Naku Bay and the Dyea Flats. I couldn't get enough of the Alaskan tranquility, but knew that I needed to return along the washboard gravel road towards Skagway to return my rented electric vehicle. Traffic was considerate and polite as I sped southwest around Dyea and Yakutania Point. Before I had to return the bike, I wanted to see two more points of interest. The first was Smuggler's Cove. To get there, I first rode to the footbridge on the south end of the airport runway. This hike was easy and beautiful. I got lost on the way to my last stop, the Moore Cabin. I stopped and asked for directions, but the person I stopped didn't know what I was talking about. Turns out I was only a block off when I thought it was near the Skagway Museum. I returned the Himiway e-bike, petted the shop dogs, and walked back to the ship, passing a cigarette fire in Skagway Brewing and the famous Arctic Brotherhood Hall. I think I might have to try renting an e-bike in every town I visit.